All right, everybody's got a fancy intro song for their show, like Tone Talk and everything, and I don't have one, so I thought I need one, so I better write one. So I wrote this on the way to work. It's a Pete Thorn Sunday Live, talking about your whammy bar and your overdrive. It's a Pete Thorn Sunday Live, talking about your fuzz and your buzz. What do you think? I think it's pretty good. It's got to record it now and come up with a video with all kinds of graphics and stuff. It's going to be great. I like the part about whammy bars and overdrives. I rhymed it. Calm down. I'm hyped up on coffee. What's happening, everybody? This week, very special plugin giveaway. Being given away by the nice folks at Apigee Digital, my friends at Apigee Digital. And let's see, where's everybody? Yes, that was awesome, says Tone Dragon. Thanks so much. So down in the subject, sorry, in the what am I talking about? Gotta get my head together. Come on, get in the game. Recalibrate. In the video description below, there is a link to an email. It's hello@apigeedigital.com. You will click there, and you will send an email to them to enter. They're going to give away 3, I believe, plugin bundles. I'm not sure how they're selecting. It's like a random selection kind of thing, I think. And that's it. And so it includes Pultec EQP1A. What's it called? The Pultec MEQ5, I think the other one. So great Pultec EQs that are awesome for guitars, for drums, for anybody doing some home recording stuff that wants to get some sweet Pultec tube EQ sounds going. They've modeled, I think, Bob's personal Pultecs in order to come up with these models, and he says that they sound amazing. So I trust his ears. Bob Clearmountain, of course. Opto 3A compressor is another favorite of Bob's, and I believe they've modeled his personal LA3A, which was kind of like, I guess, as I understand it, a solid state version of the great LA2A, and Bob kind of prefers them. It's funny, over the years I've gotten the great pleasure of working with Bob Clearmountain a number of times, and he always seems to shy away from tube stuff. It seems like I don't think he has an LA2A in his mix studio. I see LA3. He likes LA3As, and he's got 1176s, 1178s. But anyways, these are compressors. What else? The Mod EQ, which is more like kind of modern EQ, that comes in the bundle as well. The Modcomp, more modern sort of compressor, so really tweakable and kind of more surgical you can get with the Mod EQ and that compressor. So anyways, vintage style EQs, vintage style compression, modern style EQ, modern style compression. It's all included in the bundle from my friends from Apigee. So if you do any kind of home recording or any kind of professional recording, it's great stuff. So get on it and send an email. Once again, for those just joining, there's an email down there in the video description below. Send an email to hello@Apigee Digital. It's hard to say. hello@apigeedigital.com. And you'll be entered in a giveaway, 3 plugin bundles that they're giving away. And I'm super stoked about it. All right. So what are you guys talking about in the chat here? You guys are all talking amongst yourselves. That's good. That's good. Let's get right into it. And then I'll revisit this later on. Just to, I know people will join throughout the couple hours that I'm on here. So I'll let people know that the email's in the video description and all that. There, Ben clicked it there. I'm going to put up on the screen, hello@apigeedigital.com. There it is. That's the email address you're going to send the email to in order to enter for the plugin giveaway from Apigee. Okay. Let's see. SRH says, I had a quad of Tungsol EL34Bs in storage, and yesterday I got them out to try. How do they sound? I've got those in... Oh, no, I don't have those. Sorry, I've got the Shugwang made EL34Bs and that Germino right there. They're a little on the bassy side to me. I like the sound of the Tungsols I heard in the shootout we did a while ago. Dave Friedman and I did the EL34 shootout, and the Tungsol sounded pretty cool in that, I thought. Turn this light down a little bit. I look a little glary. Just bring it down here. There. Yeah. Satch says, thanks for the opportunity for the plugins. Hey, I think you'll like them. I've got them and they sound great. By the way, you should also go sign up or whatever, click on subscribe. So that's what I mean. Subscribe. Ow. For the Apigee YouTube, because there's some great tutorials on there from the folks at Apigee and also from Bob Clearmountain himself on how to use the LA3A, how to use the, like, there's an amazing one on how he uses the Pultec EQ on snare. And he gives away a secret that he's like, you know, he's got a very signature drum sound and stuff. He's obviously this amazing mixer, right? He's done so much stuff. For those that don't know, Bob Clearmountain, closely affiliated with Apigee, and has mixed everybody from Springsteen to the Stones to Bowie to In Excess. He mixed Avalon by Roxy Music, one of the greatest selling records of all time. And then a ton of new stuff. I mean, he still works for Springsteen and stuff to this day. He's like probably working on a Springsteen mix right now or something. So anyways, he's super bright and super talented. So check out his videos at the Apigee YouTube channel. I'll put a link after the show for that in the description as well, but it's easy to find. Just it's Apigee Digital. So, all right. Have you had a chance to play any one of the Victory V4 amp and pedals? No, I'm supposed to do a demo though of one, and I do have one here to do. So that's going to happen. So soon. I would like to say that I was in Vancouver for a week doing some stuff, filming some instructional stuff and a course, as well as a bunch of supplemental videos. And so I was away, and this was one of the things I didn't get done because of that. But this is a brand new compressor from my friends at Carl Martin. So I'm making a video for this right away. The Honeycomp. So they're known for their compressors. Andy Timmons comes to mind as somebody that has used that old original, you know, sort of square black Carl Martin compressor, 4 knobs, I think, on it. I loved that pedal and used it for a while as well. It's a really, really good sounding compressor, very natural sounding compressor, the Carl Martin. So they're known for the compression. Andy, it was like an always on pedal for him, I think. I know Andy Wood also really liked it. Just a really, really popular pedal. So they're known for their compressor. So I'm excited to get this one plugged in and get a video done for it this week. This is just obviously in there. I really like their new pedal housing too, by the way. It's just like compact, but you know, still good, you know, sort of tough traditional switch on there and stuff, and it just looks cool. I like what they came up with, because that was the only thing about their older pedals. They were starting to look a little dated, the design of the, you know, the way, they were just sort of big and stuff. And I believe that original Carl Martin compressor, there was a little issue with powering it, and I can't remember what. It was just kind of tough, and I remember it had a little buzz and something to it. So anyway, that's probably all rectified in this, but the original one just sounded fantastic, though. Really, really, really good sounding pedal. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. Did I ever do broadcasting or voiceovers? No, but I'd like to. News at 11. Or the guy that goes, in a land before time, at the beginning of the movies, you know, when the trailers are playing, you know. Yeah, I want to do all that someday, and when I have more time. No, I should really get into voiceover, get out of the music business. Everybody tells me, like, you've got a great voice for radio, or you've got a good voice for voiceover. You should do it. And there's just so much money in it. And you can work at home. You got your little studio at home, which can be like a corner in a closet with like a little vocal thing to, you know, control the reflections. And then you sit in there with a laptop and Logic and just make bank recording voiceovers from home. I know it's like a network, you know. You got to get into that. Like, if you can break into it, then it's really something, but it's tough to get in. I believe you need a coach, I was told, to do voiceover stuff. That kind of, like, they almost serve as an agent also or something, and start helping you get work, but it takes like a year of like real dedicated, you know, coaching with somebody and learning how to do the different voices for different things. You know, it's like there's very specific, you know, for like the movie trailer guy, or this voice or that voice. It's like you have to practice them all, and there's a whole thing to it, evidently. Although I know people that have gotten into doing voiceover stuff, and you know, Greg Bissonette was a voice of, I think, somebody on The Simpsons or something. And Greg Bisnet, great drummer, he's played with David Lee Roth and tons of people, right? And he's got this really animated voice, and somebody heard him at a party talking, I heard, and said like, hey, do you ever do voiceover? Like, because I need somebody for, and he ends up being the voice of, major character on TV. Anyways, do you prefer tube amps for recording or the digital stuff? What records better? Well, I mean, I do it all here. I use it all. I mean, you can see sort of the tube amps here, and then there's an aux, for example, sitting right there. So that's kind of combining the best of both worlds. So the amps, I guess, with some digital stuff. That's sort of, I think of it more in terms of like, what's the realistic scenario as far as like it's about your passion. If you got a passion for tube amps and you love them and it's something you enjoy, it's like, okay, well, I just love tube amps, so I want to use them to play guitar. It feels natural. But I maybe can't record loud guitar because I live in a condo or something. Well, now you can do that with like an aux or a Sur reactive load or a 2-notes captor. You can use the tube amps and then combine them with the digital technology to kind of a hybrid approach to use it all. So that's one way to go. Other people still just want to mic cabinets, and they're willing to, put up with the volume and have a space built where they can do that, and they're analog all the way. Other folks, I mean, I think there's plenty of people out there that, especially younger people these days, that, or maybe guys that just got tired of, the struggle of dealing with volume and tubes and all the stuff, and then they try something like a Helix or an Axe Effects or something. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever, You find plenty of those devotees on the gear forums and whatnot, that are just totally into the digital world now. And we got to take into account that there's a lot of people like, younger people and stuff that may never play a tube amp, which is kind of sad to me, but as long as they're making good music, that's the most important thing. They may just get into their quad cortex or a Helix or whatever, and that's the only thing that they try, and they're like, well, this is how I do it. It's kind of like there's a lot of folks that are really great producers and engineers, talented, and maybe they've never worked on a traditional analog console or certainly never recorded to tape. There's plenty of producers out there that have probably never done with major hits at this point, Grammys and stuff, that have probably never recorded on analog tape because it just kind of went the way of, the dinosaur or something. And now only real hardcore devotees do it. And yeah, it's been that way for a long time. So it's like, these are the things that happen. So it's only natural to assume that there's going to be guitarists that are like tube amp. Oh yeah, I heard somebody talking about that once, but I don't know. I just use my Helix or whatever my, you know what I mean? Or plugins, So there's no right or wrong to any of this. It's whatever sounds good. And I try not get I personally try not get caught up too much in this is the right way or that's the right way. I just use sort of what's the right tool for the job. And as long as it sounds good and the end result is you end up with great sounding music and you're happy, great guitar playing and great sounding parts and stuff. That's all that really matters. I don't really care about how I get there, but I do like to do it all because I find it all fun. Long-winded answer. Hey, thanks for the super chat there, Guitar Boobay. Just a little for the Bean Juice Fund. I appreciate that. Anybody want to hear my intro song again? You missed it at the beginning. Boy, you really missed out. I'll spare you unless somebody's like, yeah, play it. I got to come up with an intro video, I figure, for Sunday Live because everybody's getting, Tone Talk. They've got an intro video. I need a cool intro video with a fun intro song, I figure, for this show. It's time. So, Zed says, do you like jamming to YouTube jam tracks? It's not something I ever really did, but I'm friends now with Quist, and he does a lot of that kind of stuff. He's a big YouTuber and has a lot of great jam tracks. And I turned on his channel because I got to meet him and got to know him and stuff. And then I started listening to it and I instantly just sort of pick up the guitar and I'm like, oh, this is fun. Just playing along to this stuff. So it's cool. There's a lot of good stuff out there to jam to and stuff out there, isn't there? It's kind of nice, it's to know. I didn't, to be honest, realize that there was so many different channels that sort of specialize in that. So I like playing the Quists for sure. I should check out some of these other ones you're talking about. Yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. Somebody says I got here 6 hours ago. My knees hurt. You are a fan, and I appreciate you. You're always here every week, and Ryan Hall as well. Both you guys. You mentioning Ryan there. Thanks for being here, you guys. You're always here, and John, and Joe, all you guys. Preston, I see you here too sometimes. I see you here. Hip Metalworks. Gotta give all you guys the props, and of course Ben Coombs. What's happening? Great to see you all here week after week. This week, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet, but so I won't get too into detail. But I went up and filmed some stuff with the nice people at Guitario, which is a division of Drumeo, which is a division of Musora, I do believe is the company up in Canada. They do musical instruction sort of courses online. And so I won't get too into details of what we did yet, because I don't know when they're announcing it, but I went up and did some fun stuff with them. So that'll be coming out down the road, and hopefully folks will find it interesting and helpful. But we did a lot in like 3 days, filmed a whole bunch of content. So that was fun. They're very pro. It was really nice. Worked at a studio outside of Vancouver, BC, in Abbotsford. Nice fellow out there named Soren, has a great studio. That's basically a home studio, but it's like a full-blown real studio that he built. I mean, he's obviously under construction and stuff, and he really did an amazing job building out the place with a full live room. More ISO and more booths and other rooms to put other instruments and cabinets in and stuff than a lot of pro studios have, and nice gear and whole 9 yards. So it was really cool. Not that his place is a pro. I mean, I make it sound like it's not. It's a full-blown studio. He's just built it, on his property at home. It's really amazing. So it was a great experience overall. Had a lot of fun. Had a couple beautiful days in Vancouver. Just incredible walking around. Man, I walked, and I'm not making this up. I looked at the steps on my phone, and the first day I was there, I had walked 20,000 steps, which is about 7 or 8 miles. And that was with half the day being pretty rainy. And then I looked the second day, I went on a big bike ride. I rented a bike, went on for about 3 hours all the way through Stanley Park and around, and just gorgeous. And I also walked 20,000 steps that day. So I walked more actually. It was closer to 8 to 9 miles, and biked probably at least, I want to say 8 or 9 at least. So I was everywhere. I just went out. I left in the morning, and I didn't get back until like midnight. Just going the whole time. I had so much fun. It was great. I just love that town, and always secretly kind of, not secretly, but whatever. There's part of me that wants to live there at some point. So it's just really fun, and it's my favorite place in Canada. Let's see here. Corey says, a couple weeks ago you mentioned Philip says his guitar has such a good soul. I can only imagine how much energy and soul his guitar has. If given the chance to play one relic guitar, it would be his. He's awesome, man. He's a super nice guy, and he's a fellow Canuck. And grew up playing Jeff Healey in Jeff Healey's band, the great Jeff Healey, and has made his own way and done some amazing stuff. So I believe he just played Baked Potato, did some dates there. So it's pretty cool. Pretty awesome. Steven says, a legit question. If a new product is coming out like your new pickup, why can't it be talked about until it's released? Well, you know what? Let's just talk about it. Let's just do it. Shall I go get the guitar, and then we can talk about some of the things? It's not officially released yet, but yeah, it's a thing. The guitar is happening. Everybody knows that. So I'm going to go get it, and then we'll talk about it. And then we'll answer some more questions. Thank you very much for that super chat, by the way, to the last person. Sorry, I missed your name, but it's much appreciated. All right. Let's get the guitar. It's out here somewhere. Let me see. Here it is. It's right here. It's right here. I took this guitar to Canada and used it while I was up there doing everything I was doing. Did a beautiful job. There it is. So what's the reason why you can't talk about it? Well, just because then people start... which is, quality problems, but people will start asking dealers about availability. And if dealers don't know about it, exactly what's going on, then they're confused and they're out of the loop. And it's just like, you just have to wait. There's a procession of, time that, I can show something like this and people can be like, ooh, what's that? And then like, if there's no folks might contact dealers and dealers like, yeah, we don't know. But if I'm like, yeah, I can't tell you yet, then it's all kind of, at least your messaging is straight, Does that make sense? It's like coordinated releases of things, basically. You don't want to have dealers confused and pissed off about not knowing what's going on with things out of a loop. And meanwhile, the public knows, well, this is what's happening. It just creates confusion. But this thing we've been teasing it for a while. So, and I kind of talked to him about it last week, said, when can I start talking about this? So basically, I've already talked quite a bit about this guitar. It's got an alder body and a roasted maple neck, ebony board. So it's much different woods than my previous version. This neck shape, let's talk about the neck for a minute, because I haven't really talked about it. The neck was taken off of my green Sir Classic. It might be in here. I'm not sure if it is. I don't think it is actually right now. But anyways, the green Sir, it's at home. The green Sir Classic is a guitar that I got from Sir around 2009 when I started playing with Don Henley. I needed a 3 single coil, really good Sir style guitar that stayed in tune great and all that stuff. And that was a guitar that they had around that a dealer hadn't taken, that had been ordered. So it was in the shop and it was just gorgeous cactus green. You guys have seen it before, I think. But it had this really cool neck on it that almost had just a hint of a soft V in the back. It's a very kind of 60s shape, just with this little bit of V. Kind of reminded me actually of my Strat. So my 60s Strat, which is right here. Let's get that. This is a bit of a mess here, boxes and stuff, so it's tough to get around. So let's just go all the way back and talk about this, because it's not a dissimilar neck to this guitar. This is my 64 Strat. The neck on this guitar has a hint of V, right? Like as soon as I pick this up, it feels like that other neck quite a bit, even though, it's not exactly. But the way that they used to do necks, I think they were quite full, and then somebody would just get sandpaper and then, go at the shoulders until they felt they were all hand shaped and stuff back in the day, And this one definitely has this, like, just a little bit of a V feel, and then it kind of becomes a C by about the 6th fret, I would say, on this guitar. And then it's just a nice full, not too big, just a beautiful neck on this guitar. It feels amazing. So when I played the Sir in 2009 that they had there in the shop, it just felt so good and sort of similar to that guitar, because I'd had that old Strat for a couple of years by that point. And I thought, this is a great sort of modern version. See, when I play this, it feels so similar to my old Strat. It's just really comfortable with a really, really similar V in the back. So it was just kind of a coincidence that Sir had this cactus green Strat that had this neck that had this unique shape on it. Now, I've shown that neck to John since, and he said, I think I hand shaped this neck, because he said he used to go into the shop on the weekends and stuff, and he'd pick up necks sometimes and go at them and just do them until they felt. So each one kind of had a unique, they were done on the CNC, but then he'd go at them and just clean up the edges and stuff and do the shoulders and stuff. And then, every little bit you take off gives it a really unique feel. So anyway, the neck on this guitar was modeled after the green guitar. We digitized it. John he's got this great digitizer thing, and he can totally accurately, nail a neck shape, no problem. And so that's what this neck is. So when I see the number one, like, people talk about my signature guitar, and if there's any complaint or kind of preconceived thing about it, people say they get scared of the even C slim neck on it, or they get, they just get freaked out by that. And that neck to me is very comfortable, and I don't find it slim. I think the name is a bit of a misnomer, actually, because it's just a nice standard C to me. I don't think it's small. It was designed supposedly by John, I heard, to be the American standard neck shape when he was at Fender. They wanted a nice American standard, like a nice neck that a lot of people will get along with. This a nice modern C, and that's what it feels like to me. So anyways, when I've always really enjoyed the neck and I like it, but when I went to go do this guitar, I thought, let's try a different neck and let's try and model the one on the green guitar and go for a little bit more of a vintage thing, maybe a little bit fuller, you know, and let's do this like slight V thing in the back that's just down in the bottom sort of portion of the neck, because I feel like it just lends itself to playability, and I don't know, my hand just sits really nice on it. So anyways, that's what's going on with this neck. It's a new neck, slightly fuller than the old one, slightly bigger, a little bit more. It really feels like that 64 Strat to me, to be honest. You know, their necks were all over the map back then because they were all hand shaped, but that's what this one feels like to me. And so I really like it, and I hope other folks will too. That just kind of like a really playable, you know, sort of vintage feeling neck shape. And you know, this is a butcher block finish with roasted maple, and so it's just like slick as can be. It feels amazing. 10 to 14 radius. Now, a lot of people have been asking about this pickup. So the pickup was born out of when I did that big Van Halen pickup shoot a while back. I was just really, you know, it was a research. I mean, we were doing it for our own research and to you know, find out what we liked as well as what sounded the most like, you know, certain eras of Van Halen and stuff. So, you know, we put 23 pickups in the same guitar and listened to them all playing the same riffs. And I discovered through doing it that I was starting to really like the sound of, especially through distortion, of the Alnico 2 magnet. So I've had pickups with Alnico 2s before. I've got a set of Duncan Antiquities and a Les Paul that I loved. Sounded great. Alnico 2 magnets and those, you know, the Seth Lovers, those sound really good. I mean, Alnico 2, I've had an Alnico 2 Strat set from Seymour Duncan many years ago. Always thought they sounded good. I sort of shied away from them for a number of years, though, for humbuckers, like bridge position, sort of rock tone humbuckers, because I thought, oh, they're too soft on the top end or something. Well, as I got older, I realized like the slightly more rounded top end thing that an Alnico 2 seems to give was starting to appeal to me a lot, especially with a vicious kind of Marshall bright thing. It seemed to be a nice balance. And I had traditionally always been an Alnico 5 guy. I liked Alnico 5 pickups. And then I was, you know, getting into Alnico 4 around the time that we did the first Thornbucker, which is a little less aggressively treble, you know, and Alnico 4's got a little more balance, a little fuller mids. Alnico 2 has, to me, a nice sort of slightly rolled off top end, but it's just a nice top end that you can, you know, just with distortion, it just works really well. And with high gain and brighter sounds, it really works well as a balance. And then it's got a little bit of a spongier low end. I'm really digging it. So, and I was digging it in that pickup shootout. If you watched it, you know, you could tell, I think I was gravitating towards some of those Alnico 2 hot wind, you know, Van Halen, you know, 9K wind, not really hot, but as hot with 43 gauge wires you could fill a coil with, which is supposedly what Seymour did for Eddie back in the day. You know, he brought him a PAF that he wanted rewound because it was broken or something, and Seymour filled the coils as full as he could with a certain wind of the 43 gauge wire, and it ended up being around 9K, and it was an Alnico 2 magnet because that's what was in this old PAF, and that's supposedly the pickup that went into Frankie, you know, sometime 78 or something. That's why Seymour Duncan called it the 78 or the EVH, evenly voiced harmonics or whatever. Anyways, that flavor of pickup I was just really digging. So I thought, what if we took a Thornbucker, which is a certain type of wind, a certain, you know, the way that John winds his pickups. It's also a certain offset and all that stuff. But what if we took one and wound it up to be hotter and we see what it sounds like? So we did some, and this is the one we settled on. And that's what it is. It's an Alnico 2 Thornbucker wind pickup that will be featured in this guitar. And that's it. That's the specs on it. So around pretty close to 9K, but with our wind, you know. So it wasn't trying to copy like the, you know, we didn't look at any other pickup or anything like that. I said, let's do it because we've got a certain offset that we do and stuff. And however, John, you know, I don't know what the pattern is that he uses to wind, but I love the sound of the Thornbuckers. I just thought, let's try Thornbucker, our wind, but Alnico 2. The one that was in the shootout, we did one in the shootout that was I think it was just a straight up Thornbucker in that Van Halen pickup shootout that we just put an Alnico 2 in, and I really like the sound. It's just kind of a little bit on the low wind side. It was 8.4K or something like that. Let's wind it up hotter and see what it sounds like, and that's what's, you know. So there you go, Stephen. You've been so patient. You've been asking over the weeks, like, what's going on with the pickup and stuff. So that's basically what it is. It'll be officially announced, you know, a little bit later on But I think, you know, that's okay to talk about it a little bit right now. So that's what's happening. There's another super chat I got to grab there. And I will do that in just a sec. I know I missed it. I saw it come in. Have you heard the Third Secret album? A little bit. Yeah. This is Kim from Soundgarden, Chris from Nirvana, and there's one or two female singers, I think, right? And it's Matt Cameron. It sounded cool. I listened to just a little bit. I haven't really heard the whole thing or anything. But so I'll check it out, you know, listen to more. Yeah. There's another super chat up there. It looks like that's from John, I think. I'm going to find those. I am going to find those. RJ's here. What's up, dude? How you doing? Nice to see you. Good to see you. Robert says, soft V-neck is always nice anchor for my hand. I've always loved them, man. I mean, like, this isn't as aggressive as some of the ones that you would find, you know, like the 50s Vs, you know, that like, you know, on some necks, some 57 Strat kind of reissues and stuff like that. This is a softer thing than that. And like I say, it's more akin to my 64 back there. That's almost like been worn in through play over the years, but also maybe just was sanded into a little bit of with the shoulders going up to about the 5th or 6th fret. You can just feel it a little bit on the back. And that's what's going on here. You know, by the time we're at certainly the 7th, 8th frets, it feels like a C, you know, just like a nice C. And then just you feel that V come in a little bit further down. It's really great. I like it too. I've always kind of bonded with it. This is interesting. Max says my 64. Oh, this is cool. 64, almost exactly like that. Also had the string tree in the wrong position. Maybe they were made the same day. I think, Mac, they're around the end, like October, November, December. Those are when you see those interesting features come in where there's, you know, they're just kind of the transitional era. It's a really interesting era for Strats. Mine's got a, you know, sort of solidly 60s looking body and the pickguard and everything, but then the neck with the pearl dots and the logo in the weird place and the string tree and all that. It just, you know, it's that transition era. I find that really interesting. And it's got the gray bottom pickups and all that, which are great. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I am going to, I keep saying this, find these super chats, but there's some great questions on the way down here to the super chats, though, so I won't miss them, I promise. But do I think roasted maple is more stable than plain maple? I do. I think plain maple, like no figuring, this is just my experience, and John might back this up or not. I don't know. I think he probably would, though. Like if it's properly sawn and cut and dried and all that, like straight up maple with no figuring can be quite stable. Roasted maple just makes it more stable, and with roasting you can then get into flame and bird's eye necks and it stabilizes them. And I think John would back me up on that, pretty sure. They won't do, I don't think, a bird's eye neck, for instance, that's not roasted because of the state. And indeed, I've had a Strat many years ago, a custom shop Strat that had a beautiful bird's eye neck on it, and that neck was twisted. It had a, you know, I had to have it plecked, and it always bothered me. I ended up selling the guitar because it had a weird twist in the neck where it had kind of gone awry and had a, you know, hump on one side and a diff on the other. The pleck was kind of like able to work into the frets, the compensation, but I could still see it when I looked down the neck. It looked twisted and weird, and it just always bothered me because I thought, what's stopping this from getting worse, you know? So yeah. What size pots on the single pickups? I think you mean not size, Brian, but probably whether they're 250K or 500, right? Is that what you mean? I'm not 100% sure. Tell me if that's what you know, in this guitar, I'm, to be honest, not 100% sure if it has a thing to go from 250K to 500 when you switch to the singles. That's a thing that you can do, but I don't know that we've done that on this. I'm not sure. It just sounds good. So I'm not sure if that's been done or not. I should know that, but I don't. Okay. I always thought you looked like you enjoyed the Pasadena Black in that video. Yeah, that was the Pariah pickup, Pasadena Black. Pasadena White was actually, out of all the pickups in the video, one of my absolute favorites for sure. The Black was cool too. It's the hotter one. but the Pasadena White was the kind of the 9K, his take on a 78 style pickup, and it sounded just perfect to me. To be honest, it was a really, really great sounding pickup. So there's a lot of good pickups out there. It was very, very nice sounding. So it just depends how much drive you want, how much kick you want. The black will be easier to, because it was a higher output, 14K, more like the custom sort of pickup. That pickup will be, it's going to drive the amp harder. It's going to be more gain, more whatever. It might not be as authentically Van Halen 1 or 2 though. That's the thing. It's more like you want a little more gain, a little more push, a little more fatness. Easier to play, maybe not the most accurate tone, It really just wasn't that dirty back in the day, especially Van Halen 2. It's like got a great cleanliness and whatever to the tone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Do you ever play slide? Not often, but a little bit. I heard a demo I did the other day for the Cali 76, I believe. My original Origin compressor demo I did, and I played slide in it. I thought this is a really pretty song, and I was doing in the same video demo for the slide rig, and so I played slide in that. You can check that out in that Origin video. I'm a hack slide player. The best I kind of consider myself is I'll go at the kind of the George Harrison sort of melodies. I'm no Derek Trucks or God. When I see like Greg Koch play slide, the way he can do the Derek Trucks thing. He's the only other guy I've seen that can do that kind of like a person singing thing with the slide in the way that Derek does. But he's really amazing. But I enjoy it occasionally when writing and doing certain melodies and stuff, playing slide. It's just the right thing to do. And I'm really actually proud of the composition in that Origin video. I think it's a nice song, and I should maybe finish it and turn it into a full track on a record one of these days. Yeah. The distortion pickup in the Destroyer nailed it in that video. Yeah, the Van Halen 1 thing, that aggressive. I find it interesting that it's a totally different thing, like that sound, and the "You Really Got Me" tone is really where that intro is just devastating. But that guitar really kind of, it's that big, full bass, distorted, high output, nailing the front end of the Marshall. There's, it's like having a boost into the front end of the amp or something, and just the full tone and everything. Incredible. But yep. Okay, these super chats. Here they are. So when can I buy the Tornbucker? I don't know about a Tornbucker, John, but in a few months, I think will be the time when they are officially available. But it's coming. Let's see here. You introduced me. Thanks, John, for the super chat. You introduced me to IRs on YouTube. I wanted to learn more, so I bought a Moore preamp ×2 that has IR software and 14 amp systems. Wow, the possibilities. Quad core is the best in this. I think you're talking about the Quad Cortex. The Quad Cortex is an amazing unit. No qualms about it. It's just a great piece of gear. I really enjoy it. For many reasons, I would say so. There is no best, but because there's different things for different people, and they all have, like, once again, the Axe Effects, the Kemper, the Helix. These are all great tools. Still love all of them for different reasons. They're all great. I don't know. Everybody's making good stuff. It's like, how do you, people, there's pages of fighting about this stuff on the gear page, where people just argue back and forth, and they're not going to convince the other of anything. The modelers, they have their like camps that people get into, and they get very, tribal about it. So, but I really like the Quad Cortex. I like Neural DSP as a company. I like what they're doing and their plugins. I like how streamlined and sort of, I don't know. They're from Finland. It's like there's a certain, I don't know, is it Scandinavian sort of like sensibility to it that's simple. Like looks like they're, the furniture that comes from that part of the world. You know, if you see things that come from Sweden and Denmark and Finland and Norway, they're very clean and thought out. And you know, there's something to it that's very it just makes sense. So it's just a sensible device. But that's cool. You got into the Moore stuff, and they make good stuff for a nice price, and you know, yep. Aaron says soft V are my favorite neck ever. Yeah, they sit in the hand in a nice way, you know, the soft V profile, you know. I wonder if you can even see it in the light. Probably not, but you know. Anyway, it's a very, very comfortable neck on this guitar. And for anybody that, you know, has played one of my other I think I love the neck on my original signature guitar too. And by the way, I find it easy to move between different necks and stuff these days. It just takes me a couple minutes to adjust. I play all kinds of guitars, you know, for live shows and stuff when it requires it. So wider, thinner, you know, I used to be more specific about that stuff, and now I can transition between different necks and stuff. But what was my point? Just the original neck, for if folks found it thin or something, they even see slim. It's on the original guitar. I bet they find this just about, if the one is more 60s thing, you know, but with a modern kind of feel too at the same time. Steven says, thanks. Absolutely love the Thornbucker Plus. Can't wait to try the new Thornbucker. I think you really like it. If you like the Plus, I love the Plus too. I mean, it's all good, you know. And once again, it's like the same thing where it's just different shades of good. What neck humbucker would you pair with that new A2? Really, I would probably just do original Thornbucker. You know, it should work great. It's going to be nice and clear. And I would say the bridge pickup, if anything, is maybe just got a hair more heat and a hair warmer than like a Thornbucker Plus. It's just a slightly different sound with the magnet, you know, being Alnico 2 and the slightly hotter whine, because the Alnico 2 are generally, the magnet takes some of the heat off, so then you need to wind the pickup up hotter. That's what I've found, you know, like, because the magnet is a little softer, so it's all a recipe, you know, hotter whine, a little bit less strong magnet, you know. Alnico 5 just is like, it sounds always like the most output to me, and the biggest bass and treble. There's a bit more of a scoop to it, and that can end up sounding a little edgy. You know, whereas Alnico 2 has this nice sort of rolled off top end just a little bit, and these really great mids. And if you're playing high gain through a plexi or something, it's a nice sound, you know, really good sound. Yeah. Yeah. All right. What's it playing on the late night shows? Oh yeah, this week I guess I was on didn't even mention that. I was on the James Corden show with Tony Cornell. You know, it was great. It's always an honor to, you know, get hired to do anything these days. It's an honor that anybody cares what you're doing after 30 years in the business. But no, seriously, you know, I love backing her up. You know, I love being there for her to do that kind of stuff. I used to do a lot of TV, and I don't do as much anymore. But you know, I've done a couple shows with her recently, so it's been fun. I would say things have changed a little bit. But generally speaking, you know, it's always an interesting thing. Traditionally, it's like you used to show up. I was on the Tonight Show more than any other show. Like when Jay Leno hosted it, I was on that show so many times back in the day. And the schedule was always really interesting. You would show up at 10:30 or something. It'd be the call time in the morning. You'd walk onto the set at NBC, which is not far from where I am right now. NBC Burbank. The first thing is you'd walk in, and Jay would have some crazy car outside in the parking lot parked there, because he's got this crazy car collection. So you'd always see what he'd driven to work that day. That was always interesting. And then you'd walk onto the set, and you know, your gear would already be there, most of it, hopefully, and you just plug in, get it set up and stuff. You do a quick sound check by about 11 o'clock, where you might play through the song once or twice. Just make sure things are cool, get monitored. This is just for sound, not for cameras. So you'd get that together. You'd be done that by 11:45 or noon at the latest. Then you'd generally go get some lunch at the NBC commissary. So you might see some TV stars in there or something. It was like the cafeteria at NBC. And so now you've been there for a couple, 3 hours already after lunch. Then you go in and do camera blocking. That's where they figure out, oh, the guitar player's playing a solo at this point, so let's go with the camera. You know, they get a loose kind of like idea of what they want to focus on during the song, where the camera should be, where they're going to start, if they're going to pan in on the singer or something. You know, they figure all that out and kind of map it out a little bit by listening to the song and having you run through it 2 or 3 times. So you do that. That's over by like, I think 1:30 or something, you'd be done. And then it's a hurry up and wait until about 4:30 when they start taping. So that's like 3 hours now where there's nothing to do. And once they start taping at 4:30, you're up in your dressing room and the show comes on a TV, and this, you can watch the taping, but you're just sitting up there in like a dressing room on a couch or something. At about 5:15, they come and get you, take you down to the set. You get on the set. There's a screen in front of the stage, generally speaking, at that show. And you get set, and you can hear them out there talking, the crowd laughing, and you can hear Jay talking, and you've got your, maybe in-ears or monitors in. You're making sure you're in tune. Maybe you're warmed up. Maybe you're not. You've been off for 3 hours. Haven't done anything. And then you hear them. You can kind of hear this quiet voice like talking, and they've got a new album out and stuff, and they're here to play their brand new single. It's so and so, and the crowd goes crazy, and the screen shoots up, and then you start, and then in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, it's all over. And you're just like, did that just happen? Did I screw up in the bridge? You're thinking about it like it's a really, really weird situation doing a show that way, is my point. In the sense of just like, you just kind of do it. You just do it, and you're a little bit cold. You're never quite. I can't imagine how hard it is on singers to just dive in, and on that first note, the first line always seems to be the measure of a true pro. Like if they can, especially if it's a ballad or something, if they can hold it together in that first verse or whatever to get through to the, then it's over before you know it. And then you go home and it's like 5:30, it's over. But my point of the whole story is it's just a lot of like sort of hurry up and wait periods where there's hours where you're just off. And so it's kind of it's a strange gig is the only way I can say it. You just try and enjoy it as much as you can. I remember one time doing it with, I was playing it with Mandy Moore. This would be like 2004, 2003, something like that. You probably find it if you look for Jay Leno, Tonight Show, Mandy Moore. You'll find me playing. I was using my top hat in Plexador. I don't have it in here, but I remember playing with the Plexador and doing some song with her on Tonight Show. And I clearly remember a group of guys I was with. It was really fun, super pro. John Fields had produced her record, and he was on the gig playing bass. He's like he's produced Switchfoot, Jonas Brothers, and all kinds of people. He's great. And just a really fun band. My friend Wook was playing drums. Paul Trudeau plays keys with Billy Idol now. He was on the gig. And I remember like doing the, sound check and then the camera blocking. And then we're sitting around. It's like, God, we got 3 hours. What are we going to do? And John's like, let's go get margaritas across the street. Because there was an Acapulco's across the street chain Mexican restaurant. Let's go get a drink, And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, really? It's TV. I'm gonna go have margaritas, really? And he goes, see, that's your problem, Thorn. You're too uptight. I was like, fuck it, let's go, margaritas. He just teased me. And then we went across the street and all got a margarita or two. I don't remember, but I remember doing the show and it was great. So that worked. I don't know. It was one of my favorite ones. It was just easy, It's like, it was cool. So there's that story about the late night shows. So yeah, this week, fun doing the Corden show and stuff like that. If you got a chance to catch it, if not, it's online. I posted it on my IG. You're saying, will you be playing with Tony at our acoustic gig of the Whiskey? I don't know anything about that. I don't think that's a thing. Is it? Not that I know of. I haven't heard anything about that. Okay, what else we got here? What else we got? I'm gonna go to the bottom of the chat. Oh wait, but I got 2 super chats here to hit. Thanks for being such a reasonable and helpful, cool guy. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for the vote of confidence and the super chat, and thanks for your kind words. Much appreciated. Do you think the Riot pedal would be of benefit for the PT15? Looking for a more modern gain to plug into channel 1? Yeah, it'd probably sound like like a fuller kind of, different color, different flavor distortion, certainly, than what you get out of channel 2, which is, it's pretty much straight up Marshall derived. So I would say the Riot would be a good choice for that. Or there's lots of pedals out there, the Diesel pedal, or different ones you could try. But yeah, give the Riot a try. It's not exactly Marshall, I don't think, the Riot. It's when people say like, hey, I want a a modern, but when people say I want a Marshall in a box, it's kind of one of my second choices usually, because it's not that I don't think it sounds good. I think that it has a great sound, but it's not exactly Marshall. It's got a little bit fuller, sort of full voice, like kind of like John likes things. His personal take on overdrive tones is a little fatter than a traditional Marshall sound, I think. And that sort of stands to reason if you think about the original OD100 and the overdrive sound it had, or the 3+ preamp, many times kind of a full distortion, a little fuller than, than the kind of more, slightly cutting high gain Marshall thing, So, yeah, could be a good choice, I think. Oh, what else we got here? Octopus here says he's running an SLO 100 preamp into Vintage Music Man, and it sounds way better than it should. Hey, that's cool, man. Right into the front, I wonder? Or there's no loop on that, is there? Whatever works, If you can set the EQ for it to work right, plugging right into the front, that's cool. Yeah. What else? Do you know what the neck thickness measurement is at the 1st and 12th fret? I don't, but they'll come out with that. It's definitely thicker than my signature model that's out now. Just slightly different, neck shape on this model. Yeah, haven't checked it myself. I just had John digitize that original neck. He would know what it is because he's got all the measurements in his computer, but it'll come out. The exact skinny on that. Okay. Looking through your questions, etc. Let's see. Just a keyboardist playing along your albums in the keyboard school. Everybody asking who's playing the guitar. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. That is awesome. Speak, Thorn. On my record, let me see, the song In Good Company, my friend Jason Freese playing keys on that. B3 as well as some other, I think he played some other keys besides B3 on there. I have to go back and listen to the song. Can't remember. But he's a great keyboard player. Plays with Green Day. The band Green Day. Yes. You play a Les Paul style guitar quite a bit without the poker chip pickup selector and some different volume tone knobs set up. What guitar is that? I think you're talking about my Scala. Leo Scala Underdog. Scala. He works mostly for Gibson Custom Shop now. He just did that run of like 10 heavily aged Flying V's with one pickup. And he makes beautiful guitars. It's kind of a limited run. Every guitar is gets a lot of attention kind of guy, And so I got that guitar in 2014 and recently had some switches done to it. He did some new pickups that sound great that are in it. And, he just wanted to do some updates to it. So I gave it to him, said, do whatever you like. And he switched out the pickups, put a pick guard on it actually as well. I think it looks terrific. So kind of like getting a new guitar almost. So, yeah. What else we got here? Speaking about doing live television, hours of waiting for 3 minutes and 30 seconds of terror. Yeah. It doesn't go totally live. Like you're filming at 4:30 to 5:30 on the Tonight Show, right? And then like, it comes out at night. So generally speaking, and this is a little security blanket, you should know that everything's being multi-tracked, and if there's a catastrophic event when you do a show, generally it could be fixed. This happened once when I was on a show. You don't want to go and bother them there's a booth at NBC. Like, I don't even know, they don't do the show there anymore, but at least there used to be, a booth with the guy in there mixing, recording to Pro Tools or whatever. And if there was some catastrophic event, even if like there wasn't a catastrophic event, you could go in the booth afterwards and they would generally play you back what you'd just done. So you can just take a listen, right? And if somebody, the artist's powers that be, has a suggestion about the mix, you could make that suggestion. Very quick. You go in there and get a one listen maybe, and the guy will turn back and look at you, and then you're like, yeah, great. Like, hey, is there any way that, and I was never in that position, so I wouldn't do that, but other people could, and then, okay, no problem. And then he's got a job to do in the next probably half an hour to sew up that mix, get it done, and then it's going to whatever, so they can air it that night, just a few hours later, where it airs on the East Coast, right? At 11:30 p.m. or whenever the show would come on. So it's very quick kind of thing. Now, there was one show that I did where we were playing, I did a performance of Bohemian Rhapsody, actually, with the We Will Rock You choir and a guy from American Idol singing. Constantine, I can't remember his last name now. And this was 2005, maybe. Like I said, I did that show a lot back then. I think I did the Tonight Show 15 or 16 times, something like that in total, maybe 17 or something like that. If I went back and counted all the shows that I did over a, I don't know, 10-year period or something like that. I was there once a year or twice a year at least for a period of time. So I got really accustomed to the whole thing that I just laid out for you. Anyways, my point being, the piano, when we were doing Bohemian Rhapsody, for whatever reason, it was a keyboard of some sort that was plugged in DI. I think it looked like a Grand, but it was probably one of those Roland ones or whatever with the piano built in. The piano dropped out for half a bar maybe in the intro. It was like really, it's Bohemian Rhapsody, it's obvious, right? And we all heard it in our monitors, and we continued through and just did the whole song or whatever. I was like, was that just my monitors that cut out for a minute? No, sure enough, in the booth, the piano had dropped out somehow, whether it was a faulty cable or DI or who knows what the hell it was. And I remember like them going, okay. And then the guy going in, grabbing, because, the part repeats over and over in the intro Bohemian Rhapsody. He went in and grabbed a bar from, I don't even think we were playing to a click or anything. It might've been, I don't remember. But anyways, he went in and patched it up and made it work so that it wasn't a disaster, because otherwise it just sounded, So that is something that once I realized actually that goes on late night, where, okay, if there's a catastrophic thing that happens, something that really sucks, you can actually go in there and probably take care of it right after you tape. Generally, there's no, like, it's not like you get 2 takes or anything like that. You go for it and you do it, and that's it. The one take thing. But if there's a problem, they want to fix it too, because they don't want to sound like, bizarre on the show or something. That always gave me a level once I realized that in my head of letting go a little bit. Like, okay, you don't have to be so freaking out, because if something happened, you could, and then I tend to be able to play a little bit more freely after that, just once I realized that. So, okay, so long-winded today on certain things. I need to stop and answer more of your questions. Ever met Jason Hook? I think he's a great player, but gets overlooked because he was in Five Finger Death Punch. He's a great player. He did a lot of, he played with like Hillary Duff and did pop gigs back in the day, and then he started playing with Five Finger Death Punch, and has sort of gone into more of a, because I think Andy James took over for him, right? He's doing his own solo thing, so that's cool. We wish him lots of luck. Always sounds good to me. I know he's a shredder and a student of the guitar, and always wants to get better and that kind of thing. Is he from Canada? I think he might be. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think so. Another super chat I got to grab there in a sec. When composing a solo, how much is improv and how much is planned? If planned, do you sing it and learn it, or employ music theory to guide note choices? All that. So when I'm doing a solo in one of my songs, I tend to map out what I want to do, but I don't totally, I get an idea of where I want to go. I remember Michael Thompson saying when I did a Tim and Pete's guitar show over at his place, I remember him saying he likes to come up with the first phrase, a place to start that's really cool, and then go off from there, not plan it anymore. I thought that's a cool approach. Like just come up with, the first 2 bars, 4 bars, or whatever, so you know what you're doing, and then improvise after that. That's neat. I will tend to map the thing out, but I don't want to get so where it's like note for note for note and every little inflection. I like there being a little bit of chaos in there. So I'll get it to the point where I can kind of do what I want to do, like generally the shape of the solo, key notes maybe in certain places. And then I just go and I start doing takes. And then I go until I get one that I like. That's my way of doing it. And I incorporate theory, but mostly my ear in where I want it to go. I try and sing a lot, or like sing in my head, or maybe out loud, to try and like guide where it should go melodically. Yeah. Do you think the reason diesels dropped off in popularity so much 15 years ago, they were ultimate for rock and metal? Well, what do you think the reason? I don't know, maybe cost. Maybe there being some great options for, in the, say, EVH amps, which seem to become very popular, much less expensive, probably. More accessible to kids. The little lunchbox, smaller ones were cheaper. That's got a lot to do with it, I think. Rock and metal, it tends to be, older people play it, but it's like, it tends to be a young man's game too, like part of it, right? Like, there's always new kids coming up. It's a very popular form of music, and it's a niche, but it's like a popular niche, right? And, so you got to consider the price and stuff like that. And if there's a great sounding alternative, the original 5150 from PV when it came out was much more affordable than a Soldano. And like it or not, it was largely copied off Soldano, as we understand, but like it or not, it was a cheaper alternative and people went for it. And it's become a kind of a classic. Like I would say the original block logo 5150 in rock and metal circles, probably just about as revered as the SLO 100. Is it built as well? No, but they work and they sound great. And that says a lot, So it could be that. I would say just also in music in general, distortion as a thing has, like Marshall isn't as popular. Fender's more popular now because people are playing cleaner. You've got, Corey Wong and folks like that are like, a lot of, kids aren't as into. There's a lot of kids like playing different kind of stuff now. Most kids used to play metal if they played guitar, I feel like, like that. It's what you did. You played dirty, you were into Slash and you were into like rock and roll or stuff like that, or Van Halen, or you were into metal and you were into, like whatever metal bands of the day, that was your thing. And that was like most kids picking up the guitar. Now there's this, there's the whole like sort of neo soul, and you've got guys like Mateus and then there's the whole, obviously like Gent, and you've got those folks, but then you've also got Covet and Yvette and people like that are playing. She plays dirty sometimes, but she plays clean a lot with chorus, and so it's like clean tones and single coils and stuff like that became the Fender thing a bit more. So that kind of has driven down the popularity of distortion overall, like in music. It's just trends, ebb and flow, I think. Thanks for the great show. Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate the super chat. Any always on pedals on your board? The tuner never gets switched off. Always the tuner. The tuner, the most important pedal on the board. Nothing other than that. No, there's many times where I'm just playing straight into. I'm kind of an amp distortion guy, for those that haven't noticed yet. I like the Marshall thing. So that's why, PT 15 channel 2 is probably during any gig the channel that gets or on my PT 100 the channel that gets the most use is that overdrive crunchy plexi meets JMP vibe is what I play through the most. So for a lot of people that would be an overdrive pedal, I guess, but for me it's the amp distortion. That said, when I play clean, I've always got a compressor on. So if I go to the clean channel and I'm not using a drive of some sort on the clean channel, generally speaking, I'll turn on a compressor, which these days is the Andy Woodshed from Sir. I love that thing. Great sounding pedal. And, was influenced to some degree by his original Carl Martin compressor. I think she liked the sound of that, and he wanted to do some things differently, and so they made a whole new pedal that's just great. So that's the Woodshed. Have you tried the EVH Iconic? I have a little bit, just for a minute. I thought it sounded really cool, actually. Good sounding clean channel, and which was, if I had to say anything that I didn't totally bond with, because I had a 5153 back when they first came out. I love the blue channel on it. That's what I mostly used. Once again, that's the, that channel 2 dirty rhythm Marshall-y thing. It's what I love. But I always thought the clean channel it just sort of was a little like, I don't know, it wasn't like a true Fender clean or anything. And it always seemed to grind up pretty early and stuff. But on the Iconic, it sounds like a more of a true clean channel to me, at least when I played it the one time I played it. It sounded cool. And it sounded a little rawer overall. Rawer, more raw. That was my impression of it. Oh, really good sounding amp. Seemed like a good workable amp. What do we got here? Home studio question. Tired of messing with cables. Any thoughts on Pete versus De Lisley? I don't know that one. Who makes that one? Is that the one Tim Pierce has? Looking to connect both aux and PS100 and one cab with several heads combos into UA Apollo. Well, you're doing exactly what I do with I can only speak to the Pete. It's the only one I've got any experience with, but I know there's other ones out there. Friedman's using one that he really likes. It's a one rack space thing. I don't know what it is. You could ask him on Tone Talk. For many years, I mean, he's the guy that introduced me to the Pete. So, he's probably a better authority on which one's better or, whatever he prefers. But nothing wrong with an Pete. They are terrific. It's 2 rack spaces instead of 1, like the one he has. But right up there, and I love the thing. I think it sounds great. So there you have it. Okay. What else we got? Let's see. Have you ever played a Zen Drive? Yes, I have. Indeed. The solo on my song 10th Street. Let me just say, we just hit 401 people. Just went over the 400 mark. Nice to have you all here. And just after I answer this question, I'm going to do a little spiel on the Apigee plugin bundle giveaway for those that have joined since I started the show. Okay, so have you ever played a Zen Drive? The song 10th Street on my first solo album is a Zen Drive into my 50-watt Bassman, my old Bassman head. And I love the tone that I got on that solo. So I played it on my 335 into the Zen Drive, into the amp. Nothing else going on, I don't think. Probably added a little echo or something, a reverb in the mix, but that's the core guitar tone. Really, really nice sounding pedal, that original Zen Drive, especially into an old Fender. I thought it was really cool. Yeah. Okay. So Apigee plugin bundle giveaway for those just joining. It's a great plugin bundle that we are giving away, me and my friends at Apigee, that features Pultec style EQs, 2 different ones. LA3A style Opto compression, which is one of Bob Clearmountain's, associated with Apigee, great mixer, one of his favorites. There's also some modern EQ in there. It's called the Mod EQ, I think. And there's one called Modcomp. That's a more modern compressor. So, you've basically got some takes on vintage EQ, vintage compression, also modern EQ and modern compression in this plugin bundle. Again, I'm going to give away 3 of these bundles. And you just have to go down to the video description below, click on the email there, and I think it's a link. If not, you can see what it is. I believe it's hello@apigeedigital.com. Ben, if you think of it, maybe you can throw it up on the screen there if you have a second. If you're hanging out, Ben, if you're not outside barbecuing or something, let's throw it up on the screen, and or on the in the chat, and then I'll put it up on the screen. Enter the contest and they will give away these terrific plugin bundles. If you do any kind of home recording or professional recording, whatever it is, these are great plugins. So thanks to the folks at Apigee for getting me involved in this plugin giveaway, and I hope you guys win. All of you out there, I hope you all win. I know only 3 of you can win, but I hope all of you win. Okay. Any thoughts on the Van Halen Tribute that has just come to light. Jason Newsted let it slip because he pulled out. I don't really have any thoughts other than I don't have any news or any kind of insight that I would share on any of that, because I know that the things were discussed, and that's all I'll say about it. But I don't think anything, if and when the time is right and the family decides it's the right thing to do, they'll do it. I think there probably stands to reason they were considering a lot of options about how to approach such a thing, and then it's all just was discussion, and I don't think anything had been decided or any kind of I will just say that I've heard different things. That's it, and that's all I'll say about it. Just that I've heard different things, like different ideas basically about what that might look like, and I don't know how seriously any of it was actually considered, or when you say Jason Newsted let it slip because he pulled out, I don't know that it ever. I really don't. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think it ever really went far enough to pull out of anything. That's what she said. No, sorry. I really, I really don't. I just don't think so. But that doesn't mean they obviously, haven't been, over time thinking about things, thinking about options. Keep in mind, Dave Lee Roth was going to do a series of final gigs, at in Vegas. They got derailed because of COVID, and then he just canceled them all. I mean, things in the camp that what is the Van Halen camp right now. I would say Alex is the Van Halen camp. He is probably the buck stops, I think, with Alex, and probably nothing happens without Alex. And he's so. These guys, they're all like close, if not 70, close to 70. And it's like, I don't know. Do we want to see anything like that happen? It might be nice, like one show in the style of, I think maybe, the way that the Chris Cornell tribute happened, with a whole bunch of different bands, and then you had the original, Soundgarden members, and some of the Audio Slave guys and stuff all playing with different people to kind of just celebrate the music and stuff. I mean, that would probably make the most sense, as opposed to some tour that is like billed as Van Halen, but that's just me talking. Any multiple guitar stands that you like or dislike? Looking to find one that's finish friendly. Yeah, the one I have here is definitely not finish friendly. It's got a foam base, and it's one of those guitar case, road case style ones that opens up, and it leaves foam on all my guitars. I can get it off. It's easy to take off with polish, but it pisses me off on it, especially when it gets hot in here. It's just like disintegrating. So I probably should get rid of it, but it's last on my mind of things to do. But other than that, yeah, I don't really know, man. I would contact maybe Tour Supply and ask them. Tour Supply is, I believe they've got, one in Nashville. There's one here in LA, and you can buy things from them online as well. They will probably have a nice, reliable, tourable, kind of thing that guys buy to put, multiple guitars in, the road case style. So check out Tour Supply and see what they've got for stands like that. I use a lot of Hercules stands in here. Yeah. George says that I nominated you to be on the Van Halen Tribute Reunion Tour. I think it would be nice to see a lot of different players if they ever did do it, kind of in the spirit of the, like I say, the Chris Cornell tribute, was, you had everybody from, I think Miley was great that night. She actually brought the house down, but you had, Dave Grohl and, Foo Fighters were there. Metallica was there. I mean, you had all these different people kind of representing and playing the music. And I thought that was nice. So maybe in that spirit of where you've got different people singing and different people playing, different people, performing the guitar parts and stuff, just in the spirit of, lots of nice, keep it about him, with a lot of like probably movies and photos and things. That would be the way to do it. Not really crazy about the idea of seeing it in some sort of reconstituted Van Halen. You know what I mean? Like the difference, like them just playing a concert out on a stage. I don't really, that'd be like, to me, it'd be like playing Elton John music with no Elton John there. It's no different. Van Halen, to me, the guitar is, and everybody made their contribution, but the guitar was it's just it's almost the lead singer. Dave was great, but they were sharing, it'd be like Led Zeppelin with no Jimmy Page. Like, what? Like, that can't be a thing. Van Halen with no Van Halen on guitar, it can't be a thing, to me. Even if, yeah, I don't know. All right, does that make sense? You should have Steve Lukather on the show. I would love to do that. Maybe one of these days. I'm working on a couple guests right now, reaching out to some people. So, love these late night stories, late night TV shows. I'm lucky enough to do SNL with the artist I guitar tech for, one of the coolest and most stressful things I've done. Did they usually sound check and stuff on like Thursday, I think, right? And then you do the show on Saturday, or is it still like that? Or it used to be that way. I remember one time I was doing the Rosie O'Donnell show, I think, and it was filmed in the same TV studio as SNL, and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were on SNL that week, and they were supposedly going to come in to sound check, and it was Thursday. And I was like, man, can we see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers like sound check? And if they were like, yeah, sure. If they show up to sound check, we'll get you guys in. You can watch. And I thought, oh, this is so cool. And then they didn't. They decided not to do it, like the check. So, anyways, yeah. This is a good point here. I'm going to grab that super chat in just a second. 414 people online. Nice to have all you folks here. Like Beato says, most or many young musicians aren't playing in groups or out of the home studio, so big stage amps are less popular. There's a lot of truth to that. And also it's a lot of part of what I find if there's a problem with modern, it's like, I wish people would make bands more and play together more and, less like just on their own in their own environment and in their own studio or whatever. That's like one of my gripes. I wish people would use less tracks live, and it doesn't mean no tracks, but I just mean like less tracks would be great. If there's an obvious bass part on the song, don't have it on the track. Like actually pay somebody to come out and play bass. I would love that. Rather than just the DJ and the singer and the guitar player or whatever it is these days, not even DJ, just like, you see a lot of these bands, not even that sounds so dated, like early 2000s saying that, but you see a lot of bands that'll have a drummer and guitar and a singer, and there's so much other stuff going on. That drives me a little crazy. So it's just like, I think people get together to write and produce these days. And, they'll play everything because they get good at everything. So they can play some keys and they can play guitar and they program the drums and they do it all in the box and they get the singer to sing on it. And then they like go out on tour and it's just that one person and the singer, and they hire a drummer and then they're done. Like, it's like, you got to get more people up there, or it's just, I don't know. Anyways, I see a lot of this these days in pop land, and it bothers me a little bit, but also, yeah, the way they're doing it in the studios, they're recording using plugins, they're getting the sounds using plugins or a Helix or a Kemper or whatever, because that's the way they're working. And then maybe they just take that out into the stage and they're like, well, of course touring budgets sometimes it's out of necessity. Like they can't have amps, so I remember Mayer, I was texting one time with John Mayer, and I remember him saying like he takes his MPC to, which is a Kai sort of Porta studio that's evolved now to be basically a full-fledged workstation in like it's kind of cool, but it's got amp models in it and everything, and you can do looping in it and stuff. And he's like, man, many times like modern producers, I'll bring this thing to sessions because this is way more in their wheelhouse and in their workflow. Like they don't want to know about miking a tube amp. That's not their thing. They want it like, this makes sense. I'll record some little 4-bar guitar part, loop it, and then I can give it to them as a wave. They bring it in, they import it. And it's like, it's just a different way of production, but is what it is. It makes sense. And also, I don't know, Makes me miss crank Marshalls, but it's I get it. It doesn't really work for that style of music. It's not even appropriate for that style of music, you know. Sometimes big amps. Yeah. So I'm getting so long-winded this week and kind of fired up on coffee that I'm missing a lot of your questions. Maybe can you guys, if I've missed your questions, just ask again in the chat. I'll go to the bottom right now of the chat. Digitech freak out on your board. Can you explain how to use it in a live situation? I set mine. I mean, there's a number of different ways you can use it. It's a pretty versatile pedal, but I set mine for a natural kind of feedback that is either on the root or kind of an octave up. And I can hit it, and then it takes a second to ramp up and then comes on like natural amp feedback. That's how I use it. But you can set it to start feeding back immediately, or you can also make it momentary so that you push the button and the feedback happens, and then when you release it, it stops. Or you can turn it on so it's on all the time. So you're playing a part. If you were to hold a note and standing across the stage, it'll start feeding back, you know. You know what I mean? So the pedal's on or off, and its effect is on or off, you know, either that or momentary. I set mine momentary so that just when I want to grab a note and really make it scream, that's how I use it. So you just have to be careful about the level, because generally speaking, the level, I mean, I don't have it much up past a quarter of the way up. If you turn it up past that, it's like the feedback comes on, it gets very loud to me. And then there's the sort of the ramp time, how long it takes the pedal to ramp up the feedback. How long, you know, I set it for not instant. I want it to be kind of natural. I'll hold the note and then it starts coming on slowly, you know. So that's how I use it. But if you watch my video for that pedal, I used it in a bunch of different ways. You can turn off the dry sound. And if you do that and then you make it feedback down an octave, it starts to sound like a cello or something, and like a Sustainiac, or you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it that doesn't sound like natural feedback. Used to like the sound of that 410 Marshall cab that came out in the 90s. You know, I think that cab was out in the 80s, to be honest, because I had one. So I know it. It was a 410. I think they called it the 1965, but the version in the 80s was a kind of looked like a, you know, like a baby Marshall 412 of the era. You know, the slant one, the straight one. Basically same size as my PT15 cabinet, by the way. We just do a 212. Okay. Heading down and grab some super chats I've missed. Here's another one. I'm gonna get all these. The new J Rocket El Hombre pedal is marketed as Billy Gibbons style sound. Isn't that the Brown sound? I have the Synergy system. Will the Friedman BE module give me the same Billy G sound? No. So the El Hombre pedal is modeled after Brown Deluxe, which is kind of an early proto Marshall sound. Really, the Brown Deluxe, you know, Brown amplifiers are kind of short-lived amps that Marshall, sorry, before you slip it, that Fender came out with in the early 60s, around 61, 62, and these Brown amps came out. They were really similar in some ways to Marshalls that came later on in the design of the preamp and stuff. So like a Brown Deluxe is a decidedly more gainy, grindy thing than say a Deluxe Blackface, you know, if they came out in 65 or whatever, where they had, you know, backed the gain down and, you know, through the circuit and stuff, circuit changes and much cleaner, sparklier sounding amps. Brown Deluxe is a little nasty, and supposedly Billy Gibbons used that amp on a lot of early ZZ Top recordings, and indeed, you know, it sounds like that sound, the first two ZZ Top records, and you can see him using at times in the 70s in photos I've easily found online, a Brown Deluxe on stage. So it was definitely part of his thing. You know, Sir has an amp called the Hombre that they came out with a couple of years ago. And it's a terrific sounding Brown Deluxe, basically. And John really loves his couple of his favorite albums are those first two ZZ Top albums. So, yeah. Now, so the Friedman BE module is a totally different thing. It's a modded Marshall, you know, gainier thing. So, do you ever use your PT100 plugin? All the time. I use it for videos, sometimes in here, where I do a thing many times where I want to do a stereo effect and really show it off. And so what I'll do is call up sometimes the PT100 plugin on channels 1 and 2 in UA console in the unison slot. And then I'll set them exactly the same. And then I'll hard pan those two channels and I'll plug in like a rotary pedal or a delay or something, and I'll use it. And it sounds just great, like for doing stuff like that. So I use it like that a lot in videos. And then also for practicing and stuff, if I'm, just got my Apollo Twin and a laptop, let's say on the road, it's kind of fun to just plug into the Twin and then set the audio output to be the speakers of the laptop. And you can actually just play in like a hotel room using the, I can play through the plug-in and just use the laptop speakers and play like that. So I'll use it for things like that. But I mean, it sounds so good. Like, I mean, I've talked about it before. I've used these plugins on records and stuff like that, on like my record, second solo record, and the Brainworks plugins. And when a part just sounds good, if you did it with the plugin, you're like, it sounds so good. Why am I going to switch up the sound and go to an amp now? Like maybe you dialed it in order to get a demo of the song done or something like that, but they sound so great. It's like, this is good enough to record the real part with on the record. So let's just go with it. I've done that. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else? Let's see. A Van Halen tribute should be Alex and Michael playing with various singers and guitarists. I got to sneeze. I think I'm getting allergies. It's getting warming up here in LA. Yeah, I mean, it should be the, Dave and Sammy, I would think, would be the natural choices, right? And then just, like bygones be bygones and all that. Like any kind of like, I thought Sammy, and Eddie were in some contact towards, the end before Ed passed. And that's nice, and it would just be like all that, any kind of acrimony or whatever should be in the spirit of like what they created. It'd be nice if there wasn't any of that. As people get older, it's like, God, man, like really just let it go. Like once, everybody's going to pass away and all that. It's just, all the money in the world and bad business dealings and whatever. It's just like, right. Who cares, once everybody's gone, it's just so I know that it doesn't always work that way in life, but I don't know. I've got strong feelings about all that kind of stuff, about just kind of people holding on to grudges and stuff. My dad held on to a grudge against my grandfather, both of whom I love very much, and my dad held this grudge against my grandfather for something that my granddad said to him, for like years. And that affected the rest of us in our family because we couldn't go to like, I remember like a period of time of years where like, I'm not going there like on Christmas or whatever, we're not getting together. And my granddad was like, oh, come on, like, let's, like, come on, can't you just, like after a couple of years, went on for like 3 years or something, I remember. And now that I think about it, it's just like, grow up. Like, I wish I could have said to my dad, and, both those guys are gone now. So it's like, the hell was that? 3 years of time where you guys could have, made it, because they were really good friends and business partners at one point. And so I saw stuff like that in my own family, where it just devolved into, this bullshit that's just toxic and doesn't get anybody anywhere. And, I recognize sometimes people can't just get along, but this to me wasn't one of those things. It was my grandfather probably did say something offensive to my dad that really made him mad. And then my dad had this ability to be like, you and I are all through. And I actually, parts of my life have adopted that and been like where I could shut people off and like just be like, I'm never talking to you ever again, kind of thing, And when I think about that now, it's so crazy to me, like how toxic that is to be that way with people and how negative, like, and you're really just sort of hurting yourself, and then you're hurting everybody else around you, in that, because everybody has to suffer because of your like selfishness. No, I'm not letting it go. I'm not taking the high road. I'm not, being the one to bridge the gap and say, all right, let's talk it out. Like, even to not say I'm sorry, just like, okay, let's talk it out. I'm super pissed at you for what you did, like, this is what bothered me, Yeah, this is what people, getting good at confrontation and good at like getting in the room and negotiating a compromise is, and we see this all the way up to, there's wars going on in the world right now that are horrendous. And it's just like, really? Like, you can't get two people in a room to sit down and just, it's amazing how it can be all the way down to two people or nation states, that are still just come down to people. And like, why you can't put people together to just be like, appeal to, but that's madness, it's a form of madness. And like, I don't know, everybody needs some therapy to get through like their, it's so like, and guys, I mean, girls are catty about it too, but guys can be so, just their egos get bruised, and it's just, crazy. But we see a lot of that with these bands and the feuds they go through, and the money and the, the level of hatred, that can develop out of it all. When, it all started as such a, like a innocent, I mean, if we take a band like Van Halen, obviously in the garage, and All for One and One for All, we're all getting in a van together. We're all going, cross country in a crappy bus and starting, and then, things start blowing up, the money starts flowing and stuff. And then people get in arguments, and, it's kind of can just get, gnarly. But, and it's an interesting subject. I mean, I won't get into the personals of it because it's personal, but I've talked, personally with Eddie Van Halen about, he would mention these things to me and how mad he was about grudges that he had, and I saw it in person, and I was just thinking, like, inside, I didn't want to say anything, because part of my thing with Ed was always like, I didn't want to go. I did a lot of like, and I'll just say like work on myself or whatever, and working through my own issues with this stuff. Like I say, my family, my dad and stuff had these issues and things. I've dealt with this in my own family. And so I feel like through that, I'm able to look at different situations and see, like, I try and stand above it a little bit and look what's going on and respect everybody's positions. And it's not your position to say, like, if somebody's not in the place to forgive and forget, then they're not, and it's not place to pass judgment or whatever. But I knew one thing with that camp and those folks was it's best to stay out of any of that kind of, like, don't say anything, don't offer any kind of, like, nothing, just sit and listen. And there was one time in particular I can think about where he was talking about his dissatisfaction with, and I was like, it sounds like he was mad just talking about it. He got mad talking about it, and I could see the rage, and like how, like, and I was like, man, I hope, but what I was thinking was not that he's right or wrong or any of that. It's just like, I hope he's able to resolve that at some point. That's something that happened. So, anyways, this is George says the EVH renew is a close priority because Dave doesn't want to include Sam. I don't know anything about any of that, if that's true, or I don't know that anybody has any inside knowledge about any of that kind of stuff. That all may be true, and maybe it's not. I mean, maybe none of this went anywhere, or maybe like whatever. I don't know. So, yeah. Okay. What else we got here, guys? Let's see. Cantrell on the show would be great. Really nice person. One of my favorite guitar players. Yeah. Eddie, I think, really loved Jerry. Like they were pals. I know that. And like going way back to the 90s when Alice in Chains opened up some Van Halen shows. So I actually went to I saw Alice in Chains. Was it at the old Avalon? I think it was called the Avalon in LA there on Vine. And I went with Friedman, and Eddie came that night. And I remember Eddie, and I was standing there with Friedman and Cantrell, and then Eddie came over, and he had come in and stuff, and he gave Jerry a great big hug and kiss on the cheek like he always would, and they talked for a minute, and then Eddie took off and went down, somewhere else. And I remember Jerry looking at us and going, well, just hanging out with Eddie Van Halen. He was like, like making a joke. It was really cool. But I know they were tight. What else we got here? Let's see. Recommendations for something other than a sun face or tone bender for fuzz. Love my Ramble Twin bender, but now I want something with different flavor. Well, you might want to get a something along the lines of a muff, you know, because that's a totally different sound and very versatile. Just a different thing. Something like a Fuzz Factory, ZVEX, totally different. You know, the crazy stuff it does with the guitar volume, the impedance and screaming thing that it'll do. Wow, crazy stuff. The one I always recommend to people for fuzz that meets distortion, that's a great pedal if you generally haven't felt like you've bonded with a fuzz in the past, is the Crazy Tube Circuits Starlight. That's a really, really, I think that's what it's called. I'm screwing that up. I think that's it. Starlight Fuzz. I love that pedal. Just a great sounding, you know, can sound almost like an overdrive at lower settings or a distortion at more mid settings. And it definitely becomes a you know, yeah, it's just a really cool sounding pedal. So, speaking about tracks and stuff, Billie Eilish at Coachella only had a drummer and then her brother. Well, they're kind of the best of the phenomenon that I was discussing earlier, where you make tracks literally in your bedroom, because that's how she did, you know, in her brother's bedroom, a bunch of her biggest hits. They make them together, then they have a drummer when they go out and play live, and that's it. They don't play with anyone else. I saw the Billie performance at last weekend. I didn't watch. I know it was yesterday, right? Again at Coachella, or is it today? I don't know. Coachella's on 2 weekends in a row. I tend to watch the first weekend, and but anyways, I thought Billie was great. I'm a fan. I mean, I love Billie and I love Phineas. I think he's great. I like his solo stuff too. But the part I enjoyed the most about her performance was like when they both sat down with acoustic guitars. That was great, and they did that "Try Not to Abuse Your Power" song. I think was the song, right? Wasn't it? I think where she played guitar really great. And you know, they were totally natural sitting there playing together, and it was a beautiful moment where it was all super broken down. I love that, you know. I like that they mix it up. I mean, she's entertaining and she's talented. No matter what anybody says, I don't care. She's awesome. But they do use, you know, a lot. There's a lot of tracks going on, you know. Like I said, they're the best at what they do at that thing, and it's just part of her thing. And why change it? Because what the hell do we know? We're just a bunch of old guys sitting here talking about guitar. But but you know, let the kids rule the world. But I would love to see her with a band, like as a different thing. Like, what if she had a bass player and what if she had a 4 or 5 piece band for a tour? You know, that'd be cool. Still use tracks, but like put more, like with more, you know, I don't know. I think it's cool when there's people playing all the parts up there, you know. Thoughts on Evertune? They've asked me a number of times to do a video, and I said if I do a video, I would love to do it on a, you know, a SIR of some sort. And I tried to kind of put that together, and it sort of never really happened. And then it's just like the only thing about the Evertune is like it just is such a commitment. You know, you have to have a guitar that has it on it, and there's no going back because there's a lot of wood taken out. It's a, you know, it is what it is. Cool idea though. I think for any studio that maybe has, you know, young bands coming in and stuff, be a cool thing to have around, because I remember the guy that owns Sphere Studios here in LA for a while. He had one because he said young bands can come in here, and if they can't tune, I can hand them this guitar and just be like, play this, if he's producing or whatever, and it just is perfectly in tune all the time. So that's neat. I saw Steve Stevens using one with Deadland Ritual band that he was doing for a bit with Geezer Butler on bass, and it was amazing how in tune that guitar sounded. He was playing in drop C or drop C sharp, maybe some real heavy, you know, and he had a Nags with the bridge on it, and it just, you know, way down to that drop C sharp, he could play things just perfectly in tune. And he told me that when he used it first to record some of these songs, he would double the guitar part, and he said that it sounded too perfect actually with both. If he used an Evertune guitar on one side and then he used it to do the double on the other side, the same part, it sounded like one guitar because you weren't getting any tuning variation. And he's a tight rhythm player, obviously, so he said it didn't sound different enough. So then he realized if I use one Evertune on one side, then I have to double the other side with just a Les Paul with a standard bridge or something, because the little bit of tuning variation and push pull gave it some more depth, like, and stereo field, you know. So that's pretty interesting, I think. But anyways, yeah, okay. What else? What else? What else? Too much overhead to have a full band. That is the reality of a lot of touring these days. The money's just not there. Bands losing money. I mean, just touring with gas prices as they are. You know, gas is expensive these days. So you get in a Sprinter van or towing a trailer and stuff, and it's like it's expensive to tour right now. So, you know, these are all the concerns. You know, I'm happy people are up playing shows. You know, that's the main thing. It's like it's nice. You know, yeah. So, anyways, with low level band, it's all about money. Yeah, no extra money for musicians or on stage gear. I mean, you know, it's all it's workable, I think, at least to have guitar, bass, drums up there, you know. But yeah, you might go in the hole. I guess if the difference is breaking even or losing money, that I understand. If the difference is not making very much money at all or making a little more money, I would still have the bass player, just out of artistic integrity. It's easy for me to say that, I know, but you know, the bar owners would rather. Well, that's a different thing. If we're talking about like duo and, you know, small gigs, like, you know, cover gigs and stuff like that, that's a whole nother. That's another thing too. They probably would rather pay like and you know, it's easier to. In some ways, I mean, certain bars, you know, it's easier to have a guy playing acoustic and more appropriate, I think, than having a full band back there with drums and bass, and it can get loud and all that. And having the, you know, it's just depends on the environment and what your club is and all that, what you're doing, what kind of place it is. But I'm more talking about bands playing like in actual, you know, big clubs or theaters, or, you know, this is a thing where you're seeing, you know, young artists touring with only a couple people or 3 people. And these are like, you know, shows like, you know, with 1,000 people there or whatever. Robert says, when I played in the 80s, there was enough venues in San Francisco Bay Area to play 4 nights a week. The venues are gone, less chance for bands to play out. Yeah, there's still venues in San Francisco where bands play, though. I know what you're saying. Like, once again, I'm speaking about the difference between the local bands and, or, you know, more like local shows, as opposed to touring bands on the road that are putting records out and then doing shows that people are buying tickets, you know, in like Live Nation venues, or, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. That was my main point. Not more like the cover thing or doing like more local shows and smaller gigs, which of course there's absolutely nothing wrong with. It's just a different market, different kinds of gigs. And yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there isn't as many places to play live doing that, but there's still lots of bands going on tour and stuff. They're just doing it with less players. Did you ever play the CC song "No Such Thing"? Yes. As a matter of fact, that was one of the songs I had to audition on. So I learned that song about 1:30 in the morning, and then by 11:30 a.m. I was playing it with Chris Cornell. That's the truth. Nobody had ever heard the song either, because the album hadn't even been released. So we got this. That was one of the, you know, in an email we got, like, learn these songs and be at center staging tomorrow at such and such a time. So I did, and that was one of them. But it has a very, I can't remember it. I think it's like a. You know, some kind of riff like that. I don't really remember, but it was a riff like that. And over that, you had to sing, "There's no such thing as nothing." You know, that had this melody on it. And it was like totally counter to what the guitar was doing underneath. And I sat there and worked it at like 2:30 in the morning, trying to get the background vocal with the riff, because I thought that'll be impressive if I can do that. I guess it worked. I got the gig. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? When Sir puts a Floyd Rose locking nut on their guitars, do they hang part of it over the headstock? I don't think so. I think it's all. No, I have one here with a Floyd, and I think it's a modern, and I think it's all a complete piece of wood across. I know what you're talking about. Some guitars they do that on. I don't think that's something John would do, actually. Always looked weird to me. Pretty sure my modern's flat all the way across. I can ask him if you want. Should we text him and ask him? Let's ask John. When you put a Floyd Rose on a guitar, is there wood underneath 100% of the locking nut, or do you let the lock nut hang over? I think that makes sense. Yeah, let's see what he says. Okay. I want to have to tell him something else. Don't be snobby. That's about something else. Sorry. Okay. What time is it? It's 1:30. I got here late, so I'm going to go another 10, 15 minutes. Then I got to split, get some food in me, and get some work done. Once again, for the folks that tuned in for the Apigee plugin giveaway, down in the video description below, there's an email link. I believe it's hello@apigeedigital.com. Is that right? I think it's in the video description below. Oh, I have it right here. I can see it on another screen. Let's see. Yeah, hello@apigeedigital.com. Hello and welcome to Movie Phone. Hello @apigeedigital.com. Send an email there, and I said to put Pete Thorn Apigee plugin giveaway in the subject line, and then just say hi or whatever. They'll have your email at that point, and they can hit you up if you win. They're going to give away 3 plugin bundles. There's a link there where you can go check out all their plugins. But the bundle that you could win includes the Pultec MEQ5, as well as the EQP1A. Highlighting, updating here on this. So EQP1A, Pultec MEQ5, Opto 3A compressor, the Mod EQ6, and the Modcomp. So a bunch of kind of modern EQ, modern comp, vintage EQ, vintage compression, all you could possibly want or need for your recording and mixing needs. Yes. 3 great plugin bundles from Apigee. I hope you all win. Okay. Let's see. Stealth Parrot says, let's see, they had a grudge against David Lee Roth and Gary Cherone and Sammy and Michael Anthony. Well, talking about the Van Halen brothers and acrimony with folks. You got to understand, though, that this is what I say when I like to stand above a situation and look at what's going on. I mean, when you get money involved and you get rock stars involved, you know, there's egos and there's things like that. It just is what it is with all the various parties involved. Now, the Van Halen brothers, just stand above it. Look at the big picture. They'd moved at a very early age from, you know, Holland, and came over literally on a boat trip, and arrived in, you know, eventually in Pasadena, California. Didn't have a lot of money, didn't speak English. You know, Dutch is the first language. It was the 2 brothers, right? And teased and ridiculed and all that stuff like kids are at school, and had to fight their way, you know, to gain some respect. You got that bond between those 2 guys, you know, and their family, you know, had to be extreme, right? Plus a lot of other factors, but it's like, those guys, you know, a brotherhood bond like that, and, you know, them against the world sort of vibe worked for them, you know, for a long, long time. And in many situations, it always worked for them. And I admired their close-knit, you know, the family, and the way that they, you know, would do things and trust one another. It was obvious, you know, that it was obvious. It's obvious to folks that never met them, and it was also obvious if you got to know them a little bit, like that bond and how much they meant to one another. And, you know, I know they fought like brothers, right? I mean, and they also, you know, were inseparable, I think, in many ways, you know, that kind of bond. So you know, there was always those two guys start, you know, from the get-go. You weren't going to get between that, you know. So if there was any kind of, you know, dispute with, I mean, that's a two-way street when you're talking about, you know, any of these kinds of arguments, you know, between these folks. I don't think they had a grudge against David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth had a grudge against them too, you know, right? Or, you know, it's a two-way street. So, you know, it's not their, I mean, there's a lot of people that said a lot of stuff and talked a lot of trash about the Van Halens over the years and about Eddie and stuff. And, you know, even part of that being, you know, in the time that I got to know him a little bit, I always felt like I got well, I mean, he shared a lot with me, none of which I would share, you know, but like, I just think that, you know, he fought really, really hard to give fans in many ways what they wanted. And you know, to keep, you know, at a high level, like as much as they could in arenas with a great show and give people what they want, kind of thing. You know, there's many times he could have gone off and started, you know, something else, done another band, got another singer, done a different, you know what I mean, and did it. You know, where it's like, I think he really tried. I'll just say, I think he really tried to make it work with Dave. You know, because he knew that's kind of what people wanted to see. You know, and Dave was, I mean, I won't get into some of the stuff that he told me, but it's mind blowing, you know, about some of the, you know, the situations. You just feel like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe I have all the texts in my phone, you know, some of the stories and and just like I said, I won't share it out of, you know, respect, but it's just like, it's a two-way street, you know, is all I'm saying. Okay. With the Van Halen stuff. And the acrimony and stuff like that, you know. So, my niece Hurt said, I did not know they were not from USA. Yeah, they grew up in Holland. I mean, they're Dutch. You know, their dad was a musician over there. Met mom over there, and you know, I think by the time they were 4 or 5, they decided to emigrate. You know, when the kids were 4, 5, 6 years old, something like that. That was when they moved over, and they, you know, Dutch, their first language. You can find great videos of them speaking, you know, doing interviews over in Netherlands and stuff, speaking Dutch, you know, completely fluently, and because of course that's their first language. So it's quite interesting, you know. Okay, let's talk about other stuff. Let's see. Great stories today, says Richard. Thanks, man. This has been fun. It's always great therapy for me being here. I enjoy it. Let's see if John responded about nope, I haven't seen anything from him about the lock nut. The early Kramers hung over because the necks were originally designed for the Rockinger trims. That's interesting. Yeah, I had one of those on a guitar. Anybody ever have a Rockinger trim? Who had one here? They were crazy. Not great. Yeah. What else we got here? My niece Hurt says he uses Floyd Rose arm to scratch his back this morning. It's a pretty solid idea, dude. If I got one around here, I can give that. No, I don't have the loose one right now, but let me try that. The Buzz Feet and tuning system. A couple of my guitars have. As a matter of fact, the green guitar, the neck, you know, that this guitar was modeled after, the neck on this guitar, my green Sir, has the Buzz Feet system on it. And I think it's cool. It definitely worked on acoustics really well. I remember just the chords being very in tune and sounding, you know, you could play chords all over the neck and it just sounded really, really good with the Buzz Feet system. I'll go to 145. It's about 138 right now. Let's see. Oh, there's a nice super chat up there. Thanks so much. Thank you for all the super chats today, guys. And I really appreciate it. All your support helps. Keeps me in coffee around here and all that good stuff. Quad Cortex has been out for a year. It's longer than that, isn't it? Do you think it'll continue to expand Feelings versus Kemper? Maybe it is only a year. I love it. I think they both make a great product for what they are. You know, they're cool. There's plenty of people that are, you know, kind of integrated into the Kemper workflow and system. The Kemper's the most popular thing out there on the, you know, that I see the pop artists using. You see a lot of kind of metal or in Axe Effects land. Pop or in Kemper land, some metal in Kemper land too. But the quad, definitely ease of use. You know, it's got a few things about it. It's also just so tiny, like, you know, little bit, you know, it's the size of a laptop, a little bit deeper. But when I took one to Vancouver to do what I was doing this week, and I just put it in my backpack with my laptop and my interface. I had my whole rig in a backpack. I had the quad in there and the laptop and my Apollo twin with all the cables and everything. It wasn't even like, well, it was kind of heavy, but you know. Let me grab these super chats here. Do you have any 0 fret guitars? No, I do not. I don't have anything with a 0 fret. Great show. Thanks for today. Videos this week. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that. Video for this week coming out for the Honeycomp, which I showed a little bit earlier from Carl Martin. You can do that for sure. I've got a Victory of V4, one of their new things here to do a video for, and that should be fun and exciting. There's a Rev pedal here that I'm going to do a video for soon. What else? I'm making a video for this Randy Rhoads guitar soon, the third prototype for the Randy Rhoads guitar that he never got to see, but it was on his way to him when he passed away. So I'm going to make a video of that. That should be fun. So there's a few things. I don't know if I'll get all that done this week, but for sure this compressor I've got to get a video done for right away. That's going to happen, and some other things. How's that for specifics? Let me grab the super chats here. There's that one from Peter. I appreciate that. And there's also this one from Ponder. Thank you guys so much. These live hangs are great. Thanks for your time. Thank you guys for being here and for all your support. All your support. I do appreciate you. And let's see. What else? Any new gigs in the works for you that you can talk about? Nothing right now. I'm just doing some local stuff and some stuff. I'm actually thinking I should start recording another record, to be honest, because I've got the time to do it right now. I might have some touring in the fall, but I don't know yet. We'll see. We will see. What else? What would you recommend as a good way to level match between presets ahead of time when using a modeler? The best way to do that is to put a gain block at the end of your presets. So if you do it on a Quad Cortex, it's under the utility feature. You can just pull up a gain block, and all it is literally a gain knob, and it's maybe got a phase flip switch or something in it. Yeah, I tend to put a volume block, I think they call it, on the Helix. Just put it at the end. You can do it on any of these, Axfex, whatever. End of all your chains, and then you've got that master where you can go through, punch through the presets, and listen and make sure they're all balanced. And if one sounds a little too loud or a little too quiet, you just go straight to that last block and turn it up or down a little bit. It's the best thing. Estimated value of that Randy Rhoads guitar? Oh, geez, I have no idea. I don't know. The value is, I guess, whatever people will pay for things, right? Do you compensate for other strings going slightly out of tune on string bands with a Floyd Rose? Yes, that is exactly what I do. I was just showing that to somebody the other day. Compensate with a little pressure on the Floyd. So you do this with any tremolo. If you bend, of course, a double stop. You can probably hear this, right? I'll just turn up the mic a little bit in case you can't. Okay, listen to the B string. If I just bend, right, it'll start to dive. So watch this. I'm leaning on the bridge with my palm. And you just have to use your ear when you bend. Or, right? You can hear that, right? All right. So now I'm going to lean. Nice and in tune versus... So yeah, just give it a little bit of pressure on the bridge when you do a double stop bend with any tremolo. Don't say I didn't ever teach you anything. Damn it. What else we got here? Let's see. If you have to choose between the aux box and the captor for both live and studio usage, which one would you choose? Oh, man. I like them both for different things. I really, in the aux, I really like the AC30 cabinet a lot, so I use it a lot. I also like the stereo effects, the delay, and the, so I did a lot of Pete Thorn too through an aux. Not all of it, but like certain parts. I did a lot of recording through an aux on Pete Thorn too. My last record used it for a lot of parts. So The captor, I have my own cabs in there now, right? I've got my signature. If you haven't checked them out, please check them out. The 2 notes. Pete Thorn Dyne-IR package for Captor X, Wall of Sound, whatever. Some of my favorite cabinets in there. And I use that a lot these days. So for, when I want to get quick and dirty and just track some stuff, it sounds great. It sounds like my cab, So, 2 notes I use, aux I use. I don't know. I don't want to pick. I don't have to pick. They're both right here beside me. I'll turn down the mic a little because I see it clipping. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got here? Is there, I think I'm at the bottom of the chat. Is there a way to prevent discoloration of raw wood? Well, you have to finish it with something. I would ask a good tech or, guitar builder, somebody like Sir about that, like what you can use to, to seal the neck. That'll give you a nice finish that's easy, that's maybe readily available. You don't want to put something on there that isn't, if you want the raw wood to look completely, the only way to do it is really to do satin, I think, on top of raw wood. If you put any kind of oil in there, the neck's going to get darker a little bit, so going to look into true oil, says Octopus Ears. Yeah, I mean, probably somebody like Stu Mac, that'd be a good resort to look. Resource, excuse me, not resort. They're not a resort. You can't go there and hang out with your kids and go on water slides and stuff, but they are a resource for such things. We are Dyne-IR's work with the new Victory V4 amp line. I haven't really, I think so. I haven't looked into the capability yet of the Victory and exactly the integration of the 2-note stuff. So I need to look at that and see. I would assume, but I don't have the full answer. Larry David says, what do you think the Foo Fighters will do? Continue with the new drummer? I mean, maybe. It's hard to say, anybody's state of mind, in that camp. I don't know. I would tend to think so. It seems right to me. They're not a band where I would think, oh, they're going to stop. It's Dave's songwriting vehicle, I feel like. And it's like, I know he's lost an incredibly good friend, but I don't think he's going to stop making music. It's just probably needs some time to get some healing in, and then music will be the thing that he, I'm sure in some way, shape, or form falls back on to, get back out there and feel good again, So, but what do I know? Could end up trying, deciding to do something completely different. I really doubt it, though. People, people grieve and then people carry on, I think. That's what else can we do, I think. The original Frankenstein had a neck with that was unfinished. I don't know if it had any kind of oil on it or not. I'm not sure, to be honest. His neck's definitely got dirty, that's for sure. And he likes them that way. I mean, as a matter of fact, in my like the EVH Frankenstein guitar I have, it has that thing about the raw wood neck, and how he likes that, and how he's like, don't clean it. It's cool, like your raw, the oils from there's like a whole thing from Ed that it comes on a card that comes with the guitar where it says, the oils from your hand will condition the neck, and I never look clean mine ever. That's part of it to, so anyways, I guess that's what he liked. So there you go. Maybe he doesn't like finished necks. I find it hard to believe that any of the Music Mans or the Peavies or whatever wouldn't have had some finish on the neck though over the years. I don't know. Good question. We look forward to having our Sundays with you. Thanks, man. I hope you had a great time in Canada. Thank you, Dory. I really appreciate it. I had a terrific time in Canada. I had so much fun. I walked until, my knees are killing me in the joints. I had a great time just walking all over the place up there, and I got a beautiful couple of days, and it's Vancouver's one of my favorite places on earth. Horst says, did John answer? He didn't, so haven't heard back from him. I'm pretty sure that there's a total, I know in my modern that there's no wood showing, so I think he, the only guitars I've seen really with that kind of hangover when you retrofit a Floyd nut on a guitar and it doesn't have the full, generally speaking. I don't think if people make a guitar from scratch, I've ever seen one like that. Like somebody was saying they were originally made for Rockinger trims, and so they, okay. What else have we got here? Let's see. I think that's kind of answered all the questions down at the bottom of the chat here that I see. And so I'm going to split you guys pretty quick here. I know I said I was going to go 4 minutes ago, but use Quad Cortex Live to front of house and into my Mesa into the return. Okay, got it. Problem is it's fully open this way and all masters are bypassed. Only thing that works is the presence knob. Yeah. So it depends on the design of your amp, but that could be that all the masters are before the power amp. It depends on the design of your amp. Where the master falls. Mesas in my, they don't have the greatest loops, and it's like my amp, for example, a PT15. You've got a master on every channel. Those are pre-effects loop. So those can also serve as your send out to your effects. And then the global master is after the effect loop return. That serves as a makeup gain or a return. So you can easily use that to boost volume or balance, the makeup gain. But not every amp is like that. Your mileage may vary with different amps as far as the design of the loop. You can always put a clean boost, something that has clean line gain, at the end of, after your, you can do it right out of the Quad Cortex. It's at some point you're going to hit clipping where, on the quad, it's like at the end of the chain there, where the output thing is, it'll start blinking red if you get into clipping. So put a gain block at the end of your preset and just boost that up if you need more volume or you need to balance the volume until that thing starts blinking. Then you're going to be screwed. You don't have any more room there. If you need more gain, you'll have to put another box or something that gives you some clean line gain at the end of after the quad going back into the return on that output. And then you can boost that. At some point you're going to start clipping the power amp on the Mesa maybe, but by that time you should be really loud. So there's different ways you could get around it. But I understand that your problem is that you don't really have a volume knob there. It would seem on the Mesa that it's going to let you adjust that final gain so you can get the level that you want out of your amp, right? So a couple different ways you could do it, but you know what I mean? Try something like you just don't want to clip a pedal, that's all, or clip the, pedals of op amps in them and things sometimes, or, so it's like coming out of a Quad Cortex can be kind of line levels. So you're going to want to go into something, something you could use a mixer for, small mixer. You can get those Behringer mixers that are like relatively cheap. You could come out of the Quad Cortex into that and then come out of the output of that into your return. And then you'd have a fader with some line gain or something, just you want something with some headroom, to do what you want to do. Or just get an amp that has a power amp that has a volume control for the, does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, you guys, I am going to jet and go get some work done, but this was really fun. There's part of me that doesn't want to go. I always don't want to go, but I'll see you guys next Sunday. Put some videos out this week. One more shout out to Apigee for the great plugin giveaway we're doing this week. You can find the info in the video description below where you click. There's an email that you have to send to hello@apigeedigital.com. Send them an email. They're going to give away 3 plugin bundles with compressors and EQs and all kinds of stuff to folks that do home recording and stuff like that out there. I hope you guys win a great Apigee plugin bundle and that it helps you realize your creative visions. Okay, everybody, have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for all the super chats. You're all the best. Take care.